Good evening, everyone. The time is now 7 o'clock, but we're going to give our counselors an opportunity to join us. And we can go ahead and get started.
Gallery view.
We'll give it about 20 seconds or so. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining this evening. The date is February 28th, and the time now is 7:02 p.m. This is a hearings meeting of the Springfield Council. Madam Clerk, would you please be so kind to call the roll for us this evening?
Councilor Perez.
Present.
Present. Councilor Letterman.
Present.
Present. Councilor Curran.
Madam Clerk, we can't hear you.
Present. Councilor Curran. Councilor Walsh.
Present.
Present. Councilor Brown.
Present.
Madam
Present,
Clerk, we
Council.
still can't hear you.
Oh, really? Hold on one second. Present. Councilor Davila.
Folks, please bear with us.
Present.
We need to get our clerk online. Madam Clerk, you might want to log out and log in really quickly.
I can hear her fine, Mr. President. It might be yours. I hear her perfectly.
Yeah, I hear her fine too, Mr. President.
I can hear her.
Me too.
I'm going to try to keep going. Councilor Hurst.
Present.
Can
Somebody
everyone
might
hear
want,
her? Am I the only one who can't hear?
somebody might want to text the president.
I put it in the chat that I can hear her.
Can you hear us, Mr. President?
Councilor Letterman, I can hear you, yes, but I cannot hear Gladys for some reason.
I'm going to keep taking the roll and then I'll sign back out.
Madam Clerk, I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect.
I'm sorry.
Councilor Edwards.
Present.
Present. Councilor Allen.
Present.
Present. Councilor Govan.
Present.
Present. Councilor Fenton. Absent. Councilor Whitfield. Absent. Councilor Williams. Councilor Williams.
I am present, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
And then if you be so kind, Councilor Curran logged on.
Councilor Curran.
Present.
Present.
Councilor Curran is present.
Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may, just to make sure that the clerk marked me as president, sir.
Counselor
I did.
Davila?
Yes, present.
All right. Thank you all for bearing with us. You would think by now we got it, but it's still a work in progress as always. So appreciate your patience there. Folks, before we stand for a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance, as you probably know and have heard, there's a situation, an invasion, of course, that is certainly affecting the Ukrainian people. So today I would like to dedicate today's moment of silence to the people of Ukraine and their land. As we've heard, the invasion has dominated most of the news cycles as of late, and it's discouraging to hear the stories and pictures of course, death and destruction. But I would say that it's also uplifting to see the unified front against these actions. So let us continue to pray for their resilience, their peace, their strength during this moment of crisis. As the members of this body stand with you and certainly against the forces of evil. So with that being said, could we all stand please for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance
To the flag
Flag of the United
States of America and
And
to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
liberty,
and
and justice.
justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. Madam Clerk, we can go ahead and get started. Could you please call the first item before us today?
The first item on the agenda is for a special permit to operate an adult use marijuana establishment at a portion of the property known as 299 Page Boulevard.
All right, Councilor Letterman, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I certainly appreciate all of the petitioners that we have on the Zoom meeting this evening. At our last hearings meeting, we had entertained a motion to table the marijuana related items that appeared on that committee meeting or on that hearing. And I see now there are two more items that have appeared relative to the most recent award process. With that said, at that time, when we had tabled, we had done so using several statements relative to holding a committee of the whole meeting to address issues that have been raised relative to the selection process, as well as to review new information that has been shared with counselors by the auditor and by the law department. I know that many counselors have had a chance to review that information since that time, and I know some more information came in today as well. That information has been very helpful for me in better understanding some of the concerns that have been raised and forming an opinion on them. However, I personally am not comfortable moving forward with further testimony or votes this evening relative to the marijuana award process until we have that meeting to discuss those issues. I think it's very relevant, although we won't be discussing land use issues in such a meeting, but I do think it's relevant to the process. And as the process stands at this time, I would want to make a motion to table items 1 through 6 this evening, again, until such a time as that meeting is convened. And let me also say in the motion, Mr. President, that I certainly appreciate all the time and investment that has gone in to these various projects. But this is a time to govern. It's a time to be very clear. And occasionally governing is not necessarily convenient, but it is necessary, I think, to maintain the integrity of this body. I would add, Mr. President, I would hope that you can move swiftly to schedule that meeting, as well as schedule a special meeting to hear these items as soon as possible so that there is no further delay. But I would end by saying, I know some have raised concern with the process taking so long. However, I think if handled correctly, we can see this allow no further delay. Since none of these projects have a host community agreement yet, they wouldn't be preparing to open anytime extremely soon anyways. So I'm hopeful this month that you will call that meeting. I'm hopeful my motion will carry. And I would put that in the form of that motion at this time, Mr. President. Second the motion.
There's been a motion on the floor by Councilor Letterman, properly seconded by Councilor Edwards. Any discussion on the motion, Councilor Govan?
I agree that we should swiftly act, because I know both meetings that I've been in, I've heard the same thing, the same people saying the same thing, and we're still here again. So I would really love if processes for a special meeting to be scheduled so we could talk about it. We can do that and do it as soon as possible.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Perez.
Yes, I just want to ask a question to Phil. Will the petitioners be required to pay to re-advertise if the special permit are not heard tonight?
No, there's no requirement to re-advertise these because the meetings are being continued. It's not considered new hearing, so there would be no additional advertising fees.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. I just wanted to add to, I don't want to add to the motion, but just another piece of information is that there was a request made by Councilor Hurst to the Attorney General's office to oversee or to review the marijuana process. I've been in touch with the Attorney General's office a couple times, including today, and they are reviewing. I think the quote they said was they're reviewing the allegations. They've had the letter 3 or 4 weeks, and maybe Councilor Hurst has more to say on it, but I just wanted to add that also had occurred, and they're reviewing the allegations is what they said. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Allen. Are there any other comments? All right, Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to be clear, I thought that last meeting we had tabled this and I was going to go to committee, but as of yet we haven't had a meeting. What are we doing? What committee are we doing this? Are we in a committee of the whole? How are we going to hash this out?
Yeah, Councilor Davila, I'm happy to schedule a meeting either this week or next of the committee of the whole to hold the remainder of the items, followed by a special meeting to actually take the items up. That's all, of course, always dependent on if we can get enough counselors in the room at that time, but I am happy to do that.
So, Mr. President, I'm still not fully clear. So we intended to have a committee of the whole to address this or to discuss the issues brought up?
To discuss the process and not any one individual matter before us, yes. Okay.
Mr. President, just to be clear, why are we saying we table instead of committee? Because aren't they two different things if we table versus committee? So my concern is that we are, although I agree we should be as clear as process, and I still have questions about the process in and of itself. Once a matter is tabled, table items in the past have not made it back to the agenda, unfortunately, and so I'm just concerned that it's going to fall through, and then we end up looking capricious.
Yeah, Councilor Davila, I appreciate that point. I think continuing the item will have it appear before us on the next agenda, so that might be the more appropriate word to use.
So we are continuing the item. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Hurst, followed by, Councilor Hurst. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to speak to Councilor Allen's point, Councilor Allen, I appreciate you following up. The same information that you received from the Attorney General's office is what I've received. I'd imagine that they're probably waiting to see what it is and how it is that we dispose of these items before they arrive at any conclusion. And I don't think the letter to the Attorney General has any bearing on what it is that we need to do as a body.
Thank you, Councilor Hurst. Councilor Brown, I believe you're recused from discussion on cannabis.
Yes, Mr. President, I do understand. I do have a question.
Sure.
In regards to me abstaining from the actual selection process, I was just curious as far as when you do the special meeting, the selections process I'm abstaining from, but the letter is completely different from the selection process. It's pretty much insinuating that I'm a crook. Am I going to be able to talk about that? That's something completely different.
Councilor Brown, I guess I'll pass that to Attorney Pakula at this time. I don't believe Councilor Brown will be able to participate in that discussion. Having abstained.
I'm just because what it is it has something different to do because in the actual letter kind of insinuated that a lot of me and my colleagues were doing things unethically. So I abstained from the actual selection process, but to some of the the actual
I
I do believe that I should be able to at least be a part of that.
Yeah, Attorney Pakula, can you please weigh in on that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the abstention's about or what the meeting's about. I really would need more information. If Councilor Brown wants to call me and talk about it, I'll maybe get a better understanding of what's going on.
Well, it's basically very, very cut and dry. That's why I kind of try to say it very simple. I'm abstaining from the selection of any of the weak candidates, but I would like to at least during the special meeting, based on accusations made, be able to at least partake in that. The accusations were made that that there was illegal stuff going on.
Yeah, Councilor Brown, I think what Pakula is saying is that you should maybe call the office of law department and they can perhaps arrive at a conclusion or an opinion on that question. But I think that's probably better served after this meeting rather than during.
Yeah, because I just want to make sure, because our colleagues said we were all crooks. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Letterman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just wanted to clarify the motion as well as I think the request that I made at the last meeting and that others seemed interested in relative to a committee of the whole. The committee of the whole would be to discuss the process and issues that have been raised in the process, as well as the scoring inaccuracy that was found by the auditor. While it does not pertain specifically to the land use issues before us, I think because of the issues that have been raised, it is relevant. I think to accept testimony during this time, to vote during this time when there are still unanswered questions that folks have about the process, in my opinion, would not be the time to proceed. But that's just how I feel. That's why I made the motion and why I hope the motion will carry. The question that I had relative to tabling versus continuing, I said tabling on purpose, preferably to avoid a situation like what has occurred this evening. I think that we should be very diligent about when the next time these items appear is, so that we don't have a situation where we're back with them, with petitioners in front of us, ready to present, and then have a similar situation. So my understanding of tabling is if we vote to table, it will not appear until you, Mr. President, place it on another agenda, whether that is our next hearings meeting, whether that is a special meeting, which I think would be in order to move this along. If we simply continue it, I mean, we'd be talking about not hearing any of these for another month. And I think that is far too long. So that's my understanding. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, Councilor Letterman, your motion can certainly still stand. I think it's a matter of semantics at this point, but I do believe tabling is also can be used interchangeably with continuance. But I certainly understand the intent, and tabling can stand. So I'll get to Councilor Davila and then get back to your motion.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I do think language does matter. I honestly think that if we table this and then it's in the purview of the president, and maybe Mr. President or even Attorney Pakula can correct me if I'm mistaken, that is the sole discretion of the president when this agenda reappears if it's a table motion versus a committee motion where it can be brought back according to the city council rules by any councilors or a number of councilors after X amount of time. And so I like I say, I'm not exactly opposed to maybe putting this off a couple more weeks, but I'm getting a little concerned that we're dragging too long this process and then we end up in a bigger hole.
Councilor Davila, I think I'm going to just mention that just in regards to Councilor Letterman's motion, I think it's appropriate in the sense that once we finish having the committee of the whole meeting is when then it can be scheduled for a special meeting. I think that in that case, it makes more sense than actually continuing. So I'll just leave it there, but I that makes sense as well. Councilor I think, is there any more discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, I see Councilor Whitfield joining us. Give me 1 second. Madam Clerk, can you please recognize Councilor Whitfield?
Counselor Whitfield?
Present.
Present.
All right, thank you. There's a motion on the floor made by Councilor Letterman to table items 1 through 6, properly seconded by Councilor Edwards. Madam Clerk, can you please call the motion on tabling?
On tabling items 1 through 6, Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Abstain.
Recuse. Abstain, Counselor Davila?
Sorry,
Counselor
no,
Davila?
no,
No. Counselor Hurst?
No.
No. Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton? Absent. Counselor Whitfield?
Abstain.
Abstain, Counselor Williams?
Yes, Madam Clerk, can you please give me a vote breakdown?
8 yes, 2 abstentions, and 1 absent.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. With that being said, can you please call the next item on the agenda, which I believe is item number 7?
Item number 7 is for a special permit for an accessory wall sign above the first floor of the property known as 721 State Street.
All right, councilors, I believe this is the first reading for the special permit. Is there anyone present to speak to this? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Harry Auerbach. I'm an account executive for Agnoli Sign. I'm joined by Stephanie Prey, marketing and social media coordinator for Springfield Partners for Community Action, as well as JC Schnabel, who is the Deputy Executive Director, CFO of Springfield Partners, and Susan Bergeron West, Creative Director, Principal of Serious Design. And first of all, let me thank you for listening to us today. We are here presenting to you a request for a special permit for a sign that is above the first level of the building located at 721 State Street. Very simple sign. There's actually 2, and one on either side of the building frames the building. And they're non-illuminated. They're made out of aluminum. We call them a wall sign or a belt sign. And the design was by Susan Bergeron West. And it's as simple as that, just 2 modest signs. And the reason that we're actually here is because working with Stephanie and with JC, as well as the president, they're doing a rebranding. And we have completed several other signs, 1, 2, 3 additional signs at the first floor. This is these are 2 signs at the second level.
All right, thank you, Harry. If that's all, we'll get to testimony at this time. But before, Councilor Brown, did you have a comment?
On the matter, yes.
Okay, we're just going to hear testimony. Yeah, and then I'll circle back with you, okay?
Yep.
All right. At this time, Madam Clerk, have we received any testimony for those in favor of the special permit?
We have not.
All right. Have we received any testimony for those in opposition of the special permit?
No, we have not.
All right. At this time, I will ask councilors if they have any questions for the petitioner. Councilor Brown, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. This actual project is a project that's going on in my area. The Old Hill Neighborhood Council has reached out to me, and the petitioner has reached out to me. Springfield Partner, as you know, has been doing a lot of great work in the community. Paul Bailey is a member over there. Miss Sophie Jeffries was a member. So it's very impactful, but it's kind of hidden away. A lot of people wouldn't know where it was. So I know Springfield Partners very excited in order to bring some more attention, so people can actually identify where it is and they can provide a lot more services for the community. So this is really a good project. I know that the community supports it, and I definitely support it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Brown, are there any other questions at this time or comments? Seeing none, is there any further deliberation that the council would like to have? Also seeing none at this time, I will entertain a motion to continue the item.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilor Allen, proper second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Govan, I believe that was. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
On item number 7, Councilor Perez.
I have to recuse myself from voting at this time.
Okay, recuse. Councilor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton. Absent. Councilor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Williams.
Yes, the item has been continued. Madam Clerk, the next item, please.
Next item is item number 8, which is a zoning change to change the zoning of the property known as 797 Berkshire Avenue from a business A to a business B.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anyone present to speak to the zone change? If so, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing me tonight. My name is Michael Martone. My address is 1626 Bay Street, Springfield, Mass.
Thank you. You have the floor.
I'm here before you tonight to request a zone change from business A to business B. I've owned the property for 11 years now, and I'm interested in moving my current business, which is located at 1626 Bay Street, to Berkshire Ave for an expansion. I've currently been located on Bay Street for 22 years, and I'm looking to move my equipment business to Berkshire Ave to expand. It'll include renovations to our property, to the building. Also, it will create new jobs for the area and hopefully improve the Indian Orchard area of Springfield.
Thank you for your testimony, Madam Clerk. If that's all, Madam Clerk, have we received any testimony for those in favor of this zone change?
We have not.
How about in opposition?
We have. If you will bear with me, I'm going to try to summarize as best I can because we have 3 sets of testimony that will be on file here in the city clerk's office for anyone who wants to review the original document. And the body in general, I believe, has received a copy of these pieces of testimony as well. The first one is from Cindy Rushlow. She's the owner of 27 Babin Street, which is right in the rear of the property. She states, I'm the owner of 27 Babin Street, the abutter of the above property, and I oppose the rear property, the wetlands from zone change from a business A to a business B, and would appreciate this email being read at the meeting on February 28th and March 7th hearings and any future hearings or meetings regarding this issue. I've spent most of my life living on Babin Street from childhood on over the past 2 decades and plan on retiring here. Also, the neighborhood has always been quiet and pleasant to live in. Over the years, the noise and pollution in the neighborhood has become much worse with all the equipment and movement over the last year or so, with the trucking company directly behind me and increasingly surrounding my home. I hear more noises than the other neighbors do, and working nights at the United States Postal Service means the quality of life has increasingly become harder to sleep. I have an 8-foot cedar fence at the back of my house and the fence on the side of my house by the wetlands, but it doesn't block out the noise. There have been 2 other trucking companies previously at the 797 Berkshire Ave property, Inland Trans and Martin Trucking. Neither of the past trucking companies have ever utilized the wetland area, so there was never an issue with them. I've never heard noise or seen much movement as there is now, and we don't have the zone change yet. One of the reasons I came back to the neighborhood with my family was the quiet and safe atmosphere because of Mona Lake and the wildlife we saw. The noise and movement stopped somewhat at the beginning of January with Feeney trucks being relocated on 797 Berkshire property or totally off the property. But over the last several weeks, there was slowly more movement on the property, including dumping debris, banging, which has been done later at night. Mr. Martone's repeated delays while his engineering prepares documents have been used as an opportunity to continue prohibited activities on the parcel. After all this time, there is no DEP signage at the wetlands protected work site indicating failure to comply with the process required by law. We suspect that this may be to avoid responsibility for years of violations that are now very visible. He has continued to use a legally extended bank in violation of the city ordinance. Compliance with pertinent laws is required, and she denotes the sections, and should be required before city grants a zone change with the expanded permissions. Respectfully, abutters of interest, and it's signed Lynn and Valerie Morrison, Cindy Rushlow, Carol Ethier, and Helen Broska. There's also another similar submission by Lynn Morrison, and it includes 7 attached photos, which are going to be available here and signed by the same group of abutters that live on Babin Street.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Does that conclude all of the testimony?
It does. It's a kind of an amalgamation of 3 different pieces of testimony, but all signed by the same group. I also believe, and I'm not sure if she's on, that Lynn Morrison was given the link for tonight's meeting in the event that she wanted to attend and speak, but I'm not sure if she's on.
Great. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anyone on the line who would like to speak in opposition that signed up with our office? All right, seeing no one, at this time, I will accept any questions from the council for the petitioner. Councilor Govan.
Thank you so much, President Williams. So I know this has been going on for a while. This is happening in our neighborhood in Indian Orchard, and as the president of the Citizens Council, we did have public meetings with the neighbors and the businesses that are in that neighborhood. It was actually a while ago. I think it might have been last year where we had the meetings, and at that time there was no opposition necessarily. There was some, and I think that Mr. Martone addressed it, and the neighbors ultimately said that it would be fine. And then in the last, I think, 3 months, Mr. Morrison has been sending these emails stating that. So I believe, Phil, we did have a meeting with Phil because, you know, the allegations of the illegal stuff going on out there is concerning to me. But I think that, Phil, when we talked to them, that came out to not be true. I'm not sure. So I don't know if Phil wants to, Phil Drone wants to comment.
Just briefly. It's important to note this particular zone change is kind of an odd one. The parcel itself, 797 Berkshire Avenue, is currently zoned Business A. However, it has a use on it that's considered under the city zoning as a pre-existing non-conforming use, which is trucking / contractor shop. I did have several conversations with Mr. Morrison and did have one meeting with Councilor Govan, Mike Jacob, and Steve Desolate from the building department, trying to address the concerns that were raised. And they basically tend to be more about the existing uses versus the proposed zone change. So in order to try and address those concerns, Mike Jacob, who is the zoning administrator who goes out and checks on properties for zoning compliance, has been out to the site a number of times. He has not found any violations. The only thing he did find when he visited one time was there were some unregistered vehicles that the owner was told to remove. He did go back and check the permits for this particular location, and it has been a trucking / contractor shop since the 1950s. We also did review the aerial photos that go back to 1995, and throughout 1995 to the up-to-date ones that we have, there has been, a trucking / contractor shop in use at this site since we can find out. I know the abutter, Mr. Morrison, had indicated that he thought that the pre-existing use had stopped for a couple of years. However, the city cannot find any evidence to indicate that. So a pre-existing use can continue indefinitely. It can't stop. If it stops for more than 2 years, it does trigger the need for a special permit to reopen it. And it can't go from a pre-existing use to a conforming use and then go back later on to the pre-existing use. But as far as the city can tell, this has been a contractor shop / trucking company since the 1950s. So even, if it's in the purview of the city council not to approve the zone change, it's not necessarily going to affect the uses that are occurring today. I also want to stress that, Mr. Morrison also did raise concerns about wetland issues. A number of those current concerns really are outside of zoning, but Mr. Martone, and he can speak to this as well, did submit plans to the Springfield Conservation Commission. Those plans have been reviewed and approved. I happen to be with Kevin Chafee, who's the natural resource manager, when DEP calls, because Mr. Morrison indicated to me in one of our conversations that he was going to call DEP, and I certainly indicated to him by all means, he had that right. So it's my understanding that DEP has been out to the site and they have not found any violations. So I can only go off of what I'm being told by both the zoning administrator, conservation, and DEP that it appears there are no violations here. So.
Thank you, Phil.
Phil, and thank you, Mr. President. That's what I heard.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. I think I might have skipped over Councilor Brown. Councilor Brown?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. My concerns are kind of similar to my colleague, Councilor Govan. I'm kind of trying to figure out, as far as the pictures, it was illegal activities that they had in pictures that they sent to the body. Is that something that was addressed?
Councilor Brown,
I'm asking.
Petitioner, or
yes.
So I wasn't able to see any pictures. I haven't seen any pictures of any wrongdoing. I know that every agency was out to the property and looked it over and everything was fine. There weren't any violations, but I did take it upon myself to have a site survey drawn up and submit a plan to protect the wetlands, and submitted it to Kevin Chafee's office for review to get approved, to give us an extra element of security there for everyone's concerns, to give us some separation from the wetlands and guarantee that nothing spill into the wetlands. So that was approved, and we're moving forward with that, weather permitting, in the spring. As far as everything else has been existing use, we're still existing. Nothing has changed. There's some concerns about noise and things like that, but Nothing is any different from what's been there for a long time. I'm sure that the person that was operating there before me had times when it was busier than others and times when it was quieter. We're having the same situation. It's winter now. Most everybody's been laid off that works outside in the winter. So it's much quieter now, I understand. What I'm trying to do everything in my part to protect the wetlands, but again, we're here for a zone change on the property and not changing an existing use. And I don't know what else I can do. I'm doing everything in my power to preserve and protect. I don't know what else I could do.
Okay, I just would stress, you know, I always follow my colleague because I'm sure I know she does her due diligence of finding out what's going on through the neighborhood councils and all that. I just, you know, would just stress to just be a good neighbor. That's all. Thank you, Mr. President. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Davila, followed by Councilor Letterman.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question is to Phil. Phil, I'm looking at the layout here. Is the proposed location, the way that is depicted here, it goes right to the lake? Is there going to be a buffer like the proponent just mentioned, or is it going to, the property line going to go right to the lake?
Well, I mean, again, I think Mr. Martone has submitted plans to put a protective area that would block it from the, I mean, currently right now, the parcel of the property line is the border of the lake.
Okay.
And that it has been that way since, you know.
Right. Phil, do we have any history of the prior owner of that lot being cited for any DEP issues, any environmental issues? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I wouldn't have those records. I could, you know,
do we have anything? Do we have anything from the city? Any issues that arose?
Not that I'm aware of. And again, I'd have to defer to, you know, the building department. But again, I am not aware of any violations. I'm not sure if they looked at the previous owner. Like I said, Mr. Martone's owned it for 11 years. So I don't know if they went further back, but none that I'm aware of.
Good. Next question is to the proponent. That would be Michael, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Michael, good evening, sir. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being in Springfield. So how do you propose to protect the wetlands and the water?
So I submitted a plan to Kevin Chafee that was designed by an environmental engineer. So it's a protective buffer. It's called a wheel stop and grading to protect any water runoff. So there wouldn't be any water runoff towards the lake. It would go towards the railroad tracks.
Okay, so a protective buffer. Okay.
Yep. And there's a plan that's been submitted and approved there by conservation to protect that area.
Okay, and we don't have that plan, do we? I haven't seen that plan.
I'm not sure if Phil has it, but I know Kevin Chafee has it, and I'm sure it's been made available to you.
Do you have it, Phil?
I don't, but I can get a copy and send it out.
Okay, all right. Now, Sir Michael, if I may, what are your terms of operations? The letter spoke about noise, and you mentioned contractors. What are your hours of operations?
6 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon.
Okay, so no contractor should be coming in at 2 o'clock in the morning and start the heavy equipment?
No, nobody is. The only time that somebody would come in at that time would be for snow removal purposes to clean the yard to get ready for the next day.
Right, and that's okay, and that it is what it is.
Yeah,
at that point, right?
there's no, the contracting really stops around 3 o'clock.
Right.
But I'm not sure if we're talking about that. I'm concerned about the zone change, and the most things that would change would be out in the front, and it would be a retail business in the front that's what we're looking to do in the front. We're not looking to change anything in the rear. I want to be very clear about that. I'm looking to increase the business towards the front of the building to perform retail sales.
Okay, so you're looking for the front, so much of the front. Okay, it's the first time that I hear about this particular. So doing my due diligence, because as you know, Michael, this involves water, which we are very fond of, and I'm sure you are too, and the environment. So as my opportunity to ask the questions to ensure that it's a fit for everybody. And you say you met with the
So we
association?
started, yeah, we met with conservation and submitted the plan, what they wanted to see to protect the water.
Okay, but you say you met with the neighborhood association?
So we first started out, we met with Indian Orchard Council and we asked them about explain to them what we wanted to do, asked them if they thought it was feasible for the area. With a multi-million-dollar intersection out in the front, they thought it was a great complement to the new intersection that was part of the PVTA expansion.
Yeah.
Which is going to benefit us as well. It's going to be easier to get in and out of our yard. We're going to have a traffic light. It's going to be much safer. There's crosswalks, sidewalks. It's a great opportunity for myself to expand my business there. And we first started out with Indian Orchard Citizens Council. They flagged the neighborhood. We met with the neighbors. And we originally were looking for an industrial A zoning.
Gotcha.
And the reason why I was looking for an A is the exact reason why I got a zone violation for a vehicle unregistered. And our type of business, sometimes the vehicles stay there more than 30 days waiting to get upfitted with their equipment.
Right.
And we were concerned about that. And that's why we were after industrial A. All the neighbors opposed the industrial A. They said, hey, we'd support you if you would go with a business B zoning. And I said, that's fine. I said, okay, let's do that. We had everything hammered out. And then Mr. Morrison started. And he called the DEP, called conservation. We complied. I have no problem. I complied. I showed everything. We had no violations. And that's where we are today.
Okay. All right. And my last
it took time to do that.
Thank you, Michael. My last question is, Phil, unless I missed something here, I don't see any conditions attached to this analysis.
Well, because you can't condition a zone change. Now,
okay.
This will trigger, if the zone change is approved, it will trigger the need for a special permit to sell vehicles. So at that point, conditions then can be applied. But
got you.
At this point, zone changes cannot be conditioned.
All right. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Michael, and thank you for being here in Springfield again. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Letterman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. Martoni, there's really two, and for Phil too, there's really two parcels here, right? There's a front parcel and a rear parcel.
It is one parcel today.
Okay. What do you use the rear of the property for now?
The rear of the property is used for the continuing use that we were talking about, trucking and office. We truck out of there.
Well,
so for example,
for office.
Yeah, there's an office there too.
In the rear of the property.
Yeah.
Abutting the lake.
No. We're far enough away from the lake. We're parking near the lake.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What we do is it's a contractor's location for a contractor that works for the Eversource that installs gas lines. Is that, you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So it's a gas contractor, gas line contractor, utility line contractor. That's what we do.
What do they do there?
On the property?
Yeah.
Store the vehicle. They get in the morning, get in the vehicle, leave the site, go to various sites all over Western Mass, dig, install pipe, come back at the end of the day, 3 o'clock, park the vehicles and go home.
Okay. Do they dispose of anything in that area?
No, they don't. They don't dispose of anything. Sometimes they transfer some materials in the area. That's it.
Okay.
So that's why we wanted to be very concerned of protecting the wetlands.
And the zone change is for the whole property.
It is.
And then the plan is to come for a special permit for truck sales?
No, so just a little background, we're a truck upfitter. We sell snow removal equipment, we sell truck bodies, we sell ladder racks, toolboxes, any kind of truck accessory that a contractor might use. So sometimes now that a snowplow costs $8,000, we have the opportunity to take a trade. A trade might be a $3,000 truck towards his new purchase of a snowplow. In order to take that truck in on trade, we need a used car license to transfer the paperwork. You can't take a vehicle in on trade without a used car license. I'm looking to come back at a further point in time after I get situated, come before the council and ask to have a small used car license as an accessory. I'm probably not going to ask for more than 5 to 10 cars, I would assume. That's in my future plan down the road. Right now, I'm trying to get zoned to business B to have retail sales out in the front of my products and goods for sale.
Okay. And the photos that were submitted by some of the abutters did show some refuse that was present. I don't know that was your property or not.
Yep. So what it was some
finish?
clean. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Great.
Yeah.
So it does show some refuse. I don't know if it's your property or not. Is it your property? Where did the refuse come from if it was, and what's the plan to clean it up?
Sure. So there's no refuge. There's no waste. It's clean fill. When the truck comes back, they empty the clean fill out of it so it doesn't get stuck in the truck. They move it out the next day, take it to the next site. It's clean fill. The DEP was on site, looked at all the materials and said, you do not have a violation. They said, you cannot put waste materials there. I said, yeah, I understand. We're not putting waste. Because there was a thought, someone had called the DEP and said we were putting waste there. And the DEP came out and said, do you have waste? I said, no, there's no waste here. They thought we were putting sewage there. There's no sewage going there. There's no waste. It's clean fill. DEP came out, inspected us, looked at it, said, you're not in violation.
I see the fill. I was actually referring more so towards, I see like some tires embedded in the lakeside, some hoses. Again, those may have been there for years and years and years, but are they there now?
As the property, as the water table moves up and down in the summer, if we see some tires, we try to take them out. We have plans to remove anything we can see. We don't let any waste stay there. There's a lot of stuff that was there before I purchased the property. I'm trying to do the best I can to clean it out as I see it.
That's great. That's good. That's what I wanted to understand, Mr. Martoni. I appreciate it. So hopefully we can get some more testimony as well and resolve any issues that do exist for the neighbors.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilor Letterman. Are there any other questions or comments from the council at this time? Seeing none, any further deliberation? Also seeing none, at this time, I will entertain a motion to continue this zone change as well.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilor Walsh, seconded by Councilor Allen, I believe that was. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On continuing the item, Councilor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton, absent.
Yes.
Councilor Whitfield?
No, I'm here.
Oh. Yes,
Oh, yes.
Councilor Fenton?
Yes.
Councilor Whitfield?
Yes.
Councilor Williams?
Yes, the item has been continued. Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item, please.
The next item is item number 9, which is a zone change to change the zoning of a portion of the property known as 53 Wilbraham Road and the property known as 52 Waltham Avenue from Industrial A to Business B.
All right, is there anyone present to speak to this zone change? If so, please state your name and your address for the record.
Yes, good evening, City Councilors. My name is Gordon Pulsifer, President of First Resource Development Company, 2001 Washington Street, Hanover, Massachusetts. I'm here tonight to ask the council to consider the recommendation of the Springfield Planning Board to change the zone at 42 Waltham Ave and 53 Wilbraham Road from Industrial A to Business B. In the way of background, approximately a year ago, this council approved a special permit to build housing at the Knox Automobile Factory building. During our closing recently, one of the attorneys discovered that Industrial A does not permit residential housing, nor does it permit relief for the city council to override industrial A. So it was determined that we needed to do a zone change. Industrial A runs through a portion of the Knox building. A little unusual to have two zones in one building, but nevertheless, it existed. And so we're here tonight. The planning board has already heard this argument and voted in favor of it. So we're here tonight to let the city council know and request that they look at this in favor so we can move ahead and build these apartments.
Thank you, Mr. Pulsifer. You just can't leave us alone, it seems.
I really enjoy joining on Monday night.
At this time, I'll ask Madam Clerk, have we received any testimony for those in favor of this zone change?
We have not.
And in opposition?
We have not.
All right, with that, I'll pass it to Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Gordon for this particular project and the projects that he's been doing. To me, it just seems like a lot of people are having a hard time finding housing. And this is a great way to help some of that. It's just with the selection process, Gordon, I'm just curious. For some reason, it doesn't seem like anybody can get in. They're already calling me. Is there a way? Are these things filling up before you can build them?
No. When we right before we receive a certificate of occupancy, we're required to have a housing lottery where we take applications. And for an example, Councilor Brown, relative to the Indian Motorcycle Project, we had almost 700 applicants in the area apply for 60 new apartments. And so you can see the demand for housing. And now, obviously, people can apply from outside of Springfield, but the vast majority of the units were rented to local Springfield residents.
Thank you. Because I'm just, like you said, that number sounds insane. It's just, doesn't seem like we have enough buildings, enough housing, but the number is just insane. But I want to thank you for the work you do. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Letterman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Pulsifer mentioned this being strange that or unusual for there to be two zones in one building, but the Knox building is certainly an unusual building, and I think that's what we all love about it. So excited to see the project moving forward. I just was wondering, relative to, do we know the origin of why this was zoned this way? I'm suspecting it has something to do with the railroad that ran through there, but do we have any insight, Mr. Pulsifer or Phil, as to how this strange zoning came to be?
Phil might know, Council Letterman, but it could have, the track does run right by there, and that could have something to do with it. Phil, maybe you have some background.
I honestly don't. I mean, I think the zoning in this particular area of the city, it goes way back. So I don't know if usually, the area along State Street may have just been zoned business B to help protect it from the more industrial uses that were further south on the railroad line. But you do find this throughout the city. There are a number of properties throughout the city that are split zone between one zone and another.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Letterman. Are there any other questions from the council at this time? Seeing none, any further deliberation? Also seeing none, I will entertain a motion now to continue this zone change.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Woodfield, seconded by Councilor Edwards. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll to continue?
And continuing item 9, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Kern.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes, the item has been continued. Thank you, Mr. Pulsifer. All right, our next item is going into executive session. So at this time, I just want to thank our guests for joining us for this call. The remaining items are kind of just central to the council's role and responsibilities relative to executive session. So with that, at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion from the council body to enter into executive session. And I would just ask that the session disclaimer also be read into the record as well. Councilor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. At this time, I would make a motion that we enter executive session for the purpose of discussing pending an active litigation against the city council. Discussion of this litigation in open session would be detrimental to the negotiating position of the body. And I would make that motion with the intent to return for a vote on item 10.
Second.
All right, a motion has been made by Councilor Letterman, seconded by Councilor Edwards. Madam Clerk, can you roll to enter executive session?
On entering executive session, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes, thank you, councilors. Feel free to use the executive session link at this time. And for Focus Springfield, we will be returning for a vote on the order. So I just want to give you that heads up, but I will see you, councilors. Waiting for a few more counselors. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Counselor Govan was missing.
She said she doesn't have the link. She needs the link again. I'm gonna try to forward it to her right now, Counselor.
Okay, thank you, Counselor.
I got so many links here, though.
It's actually right here. I can set it for you.
Just sent her something.
Counselor Hurst, you can let her know I sent it as well.
Okay.
All right, model also needs it on. There he goes. All right. I believe we have everyone. Thank you for rejoining. Madam Clerk, can you just please just take the roll just so we have a record of who's coming back?
Counselor Perez. Present. Counselor Letterman.
Present.
Present. Counselor Curran.
Present.
Present. Counselor Walsh.
Present.
Present. Counselor Brown.
Present.
Present. Counselor Davila.
Present.
Present. Counselor Hurst.
Present.
Present. Counselor Edwards.
Present.
Present. Counselor Allen.
Present.
Present. Counselor Govan.
Present.
Present. Counselor Fenton.
Present.
Present. Counselor Whitfield.
Present.
Present. Counselor Williams.
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can you please call item number 10?
Item number 10 is an MOU with Lyman Corners LLC and Pilar 2 LLC.
Is there anyone present to speak to this? Please state your name and address for the record. Attorney Moore, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. This order is for the proposed acceptance of a settlement agreement relative to an active Superior Court litigation dealing with a special permit appeal for a junkyard permit on 255 Liberty Street. And as we discussed in executive session, this is a settlement being proposed in the middle of the litigation. And the proposal is essentially to have the city council rehear the matter in exchange for dismissal of the civil action and agreement not to rehear the case after the ultimate decision is made by the council.
Attorney Moore, at this time, do councilors have any questions? Right, seeing none at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the order.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilor Fenton. Is there a proper second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Allen. Councilor Brown.
Can you clarify what the yes vote or no vote would be?
Yes. Yeah, I appreciate that, Councilor Brown. I think that would be helpful. Attorney Moore, I'll give it to you. I can do it, but I'll pass it to you.
No, sure. The yes vote in this case would be approval of the proposed settlement agreement in the case. Approval of the settlement agreement would be the council agreeing to conduct a rehearing of the matter.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Moore. Councilor Brown, Was that made clear?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President.
All right, there's been a motion on the floor, properly seconded by Counselor Allen, I believe that was.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on approving the order?
How many votes are needed on this?
7 votes.
7. Okay. Thank you.
On approving the order, Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran?
No.
No, Counselor Walsh?
No.
No, Counselor Brown?
No.
No, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst?
No.
No, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan?
No.
No, Counselor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
No.
No, Counselor Williams?
No.
No.
I have a final tally, Madam Clerk, please.
So that is 7 noes and 6 yeses.
All right, the noes stand. Thank you, Counselor. Counselors, are there any further business before council at this time?
There is not.
All right, thank you, counselors. And I will certainly be in touch around the scheduling of the committee of the whole to cannabis process. And then we can carry out conversation relative to when a special is had then.